Scholars, let's keep reading. Remember that you have to ask yourselves as we're reading, is this fact? It was a real time, place, important person or event in history, or fiction? This is an event that has to do with Emmy or her family. Let's keep reading. And then they were at the Tanverin tracks. There was a barbed wire fence all around it and guard towers at each corner. Armed guards swung open the gates and let the buses in and then closed them so no one could get out. They were locked in. They were assigned to Barrack 16, apartment 40, and Papa's friend, Mr. Noma, helped them look for it. It wasn't among the massive army barracks built around the racetrack or in the infield. In fact, it wasn't a barrack at all. It was a long stable where the horses had lived, and each stall had a number on it. Well, here it is, Mr. Noma said as he came to a stall marked number 40. This is your apartment. Emmy and Rika peered inside. Gosh, Mama, it's filthy. No matter what anybody called it, it was just a dark, dirty horse stall that still smelled of horses. And the linoleum laid over the dirt was littered with wood shavings, nails, dust, and dead bugs. There was nothing in the stall except 3 folded army cots lying on the floor. Mama tried to cheer them up. I'll have Mrs. Simpson send us material for curtains, she said. It will look better when we fix it up. But Emmy could tell that Mama felt just as bad as she did. And no one could think of anything more to say. Mr. Noma went to get mattresses for them. I'd better hurry before they're all gone, he said. He rushed off because he didn't want to see Emmy's mother cry. But she didn't cry. She just went out to borrow a broom and swept out the dust and dirt and bugs. Scholars, what is Emmy's apartment like? Tell me. Right. ELA Masters, imagine living somewhere where horses lived. It doesn't sound like a clean or fun place at all. Let's think about that statement. That Emmy and her family's apartment used to be a horse stable. It is small, very dirty, and smells bad. Is this statement fact or fiction? Take a moment to pause your video and answer that now. Let's think about this statement. In the internment camps, Japanese American families often had to share a single small room that was in bad condition. Is this fact or fiction? If you need to, pause your video and answer number 2 now. Good. Let's keep reading. It was just after Emmy and Reiko had set up the army cots that she noticed. My bracelet's gone, Emmy screamed. I've lost my bracelet. Emmy looked in every corner of the stall and along the ramp that led to the stable. Mama and Reiko helped her, but no one could find it. It was getting dark, but Mama got out her flashlight and they walked back along the racetrack, retracing every step they'd taken. The track was muddy and full of puddles that the rain left that day before. They looked and looked, but they couldn't find Emmy's bracelet anywhere. Scholars, the track was muddy and full of puddles the rain had left the day before. They looked and looked, but they couldn't find Emmy's bracelet anywhere. It was time now to have supper at the grandstand. Emmy stood with Mama and Reiko at the end of a long, weaving line, each of them clutching a plate and fork. But all she could think of was her bracelet. Already, she'd lost the one thing that would help her remember her best friend. Emmy wanted to cry. ELA Masters, why do you think that Emmy was upset that she lost the bracelet that Lori gave her? Tell me. Right. Emmy already doesn't have much at this internment camp, and she knew the bracelet would help her remember Lori, whom she misses so much. And now it's gone. I know that I'm thinking about how I would feel if that happened to me. And this is a great time to make sure that we're reflecting on our thoughts and feelings too. When you're done, think about this statement that Emmy is upset about losing the bracelet that Lori gave her. Do you think that this is fact or fiction? Take a moment to add that to your Google form. Good. Let's keep reading. It also noticed that in my text, they were lining up for food. And Japanese Americans had to line up to get food from one place, like a large mess hall. Do we think that is facts or fiction? If you need to, pause your video to answer that now. Good. Scholars, let's continue reading our story. The next day, as Emmy unpacked her suitcase, she found her favorite red sweater. She remembered how she and Lori had both worn their red sweaters on the first day of school. They'd had matching lunchboxes too. And after school, they'd gone to fly kites in the vacant lot near home. Emmy could just see their red and yellow kites dancing in the wind. And suddenly, Emmy knew she was remembering Lori that very minute, right inside her head, just the way she could remember every room in her house in Berkeley. Maybe, she thought, she didn't really need the bracelet to remember Lori after all. Mr. Noma came to put up some shelves for them. He'd even made them a table and bench from scrap lumber. The first thing Mama put on the shelf was a photo of Papa. But Emmy knew she didn't need a photo of Papa to remember him. It was as though Mama had the same thought. You know, Emmy, she said, you don't need a bracelet to remember Lori any more than we need a photo to remember Papa or our house or all the friends and things we loved and left behind. Those are the things that we carry in our hearts and take with us, no matter where we are sent. ELA Masters, how did Emmy's feelings about losing the bracelet change from that statement that we answered for number 3? She was upset before, but what is she thinking now? Tell me. Right, I agree. She and Mama both agree that they don't need things to remind them of the people and things they loved because they have them in their hearts. For number 5, Emmy and Mama remember Lori and Papa. Is this fact or fiction? Go ahead and answer number 5. Great. ELA Masters, I hope that you enjoyed this historical fiction text as much as I did. You will be taking a moment to answer the rest of the questions on your own. And make sure, if you need to, double check that you've written each statement as fact or fiction. You can always rewind in the video to look back at the statements, or go back into the previous videos or looking at our chart to think if that statement is fact or fiction. I want you to think, scholars. How did reading the nonfiction infotext article Internment Camps yesterday help me understand the bracelet? Make sure that you write an RAC response with evidence from both texts to support your thinking. How did this help us understand and build our schema? When you're finished with the questions, go ahead and click Submit. ELA Masters, as a reminder, our conversation about the bracelet and Japanese internment camps doesn't have to end here. I know that while I was reading, I was really reflecting on this story with my historical fiction journal. So as you're reading and as you're answering your questions today, I want to make sure that I encourage you to really reflect on how you were thinking or feeling today. You can choose to answer some of these questions. Do you think that Japanese Americans deserve to be in internment camps? Why or why not? And imagine what it must be like leaving your life behind, like we know Emmy did, to live in an internment camp. And finally, how did Emmy change the way she felt about her bracelet? Do you think you would feel the same way? I can't wait to hear how your conversations go today in office hours and during live lunch. Till next time, scholars, have a great day.